So, okay, yeah. Hi, Scott. Um, Good to have you here in on my
Well,
channel.
thank you for having me. I
Mm,
mean, this is a big deal for me, man. This is my favorite channel on YouTube.
that's great.
I've watched
Oh,
everything, every video you've ever done. I've watched all of them, and it's like a graduate school of cartooning. I love
mm.
it.
It's even though it's quite normal in comparison to what's on your channel.
Well, my channel is performance art, so or punk rock or whatever, So, and I don't even have control of my channel anymore. YouTube grabbed it, and I don't have the password anymore.
Really?
I'm gonna have to start over from nothing. Yeah, I had it so long ago. It's what they call legacy, and they're just like, we're not bothering with any of that. Well, I've got all the videos up, and the purpose of the videos up is
Yeah,
having the videos up, so they're
yeah,
up. And
yeah.
future, I've got my Scott Corkern channel, so I'll just use that.
Mm. Yeah, the channel's called King Spoit or something.
Yes,
Or
King Spoit one.
King's Poet. Poet. Okay.
Yeah, because
Um,
the original King Spoit got deplatformed right early on for nudity, and
yeah,
I had
actually,
to
I can see why. Yeah.
all the nude stuff's on Vimeo. If you want to search Spoits on Vimeo, that's
Yeah,
where
but
that
what
all
I
is.
saw was, yeah, your friends with just tape on the nipples and stuff like that,
To
and
friends, collaborators, girlfriends, all
mm,
sorts. I like to think, even though they've got like tape on their nipples, I did ask them what they wanted to do in the show, and I brought I brought them into the process of doing the
mm.
show. It's not like I just like, oh, get out there and pee on this guy. It's like I
Yeah,
didn't say not. I didn't say not to pee on the guy, but they sort of took it on themselves.
I guess that was a part that I haven't seen. I have to admit, but yeah, it's very punk rock. But they really seem to be into it. They
Oh
like
yeah.
what they
Oh
do,
yeah.
and
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because I'm not paying them or anything. I mean,
yeah.
back in the day, yeah, there's a certain kind of person that this is their favorite thing in the world to do. And
Mm,
once I got a little bit famous, I used to have like a big time nobody. And once I got
mm,
like a little bit famous, people would seek me out.
mm.
Unfortunately, musicians too, because I like the way a person plays before they learn how to play. And I got that for a few years, but then like real musicians would come in, and like,
Mhm.
my favorite of which is Robert Williams, the drummer for Captain Beefheart, was on our second record.
I, I, I just the second I want to mention Captain Beefheart because
Hmm.
he's for me the role model for this kind of, yeah, just make music and
Well, you think that, but actually, we Captain and I have very, very different techniques. Now, first
mm,
of all, he knows music, like
mm,
keys and time signatures and all that kind of stuff. And I'm what my bass player called a musical idiot savant. I don't know
mm,
any of the terminology. I couldn't tell you what key something's in. If I hear it, I can play it.
yeah,
I can't read it. I can't write it. And Captain was very controlling of all of his players. And he would, I mean, if you read like Beefheart in the Eyes of Magic, uh, the drummer would a drumbo would make these tapes. He would go over the tapes with Beefheart, and they would constantly be doing versions of it. And
mm,
from what Robert said, Beefheart had an idea in his brain of
mm,
what he wanted that music to sound like. He couldn't quite tell anybody because he was a little untutored, not drastically untutored like
mm,
myself. But he would keep them working till he got that thing that he wanted, and he wouldn't
yeah,
accept anything else. He'd run them forever.
yeah,
Me, I take what comes. I ask everybody what they want to do, I try to pull them in about the same direction. I don't have a real literal sound that I want to have. And often if I do, I abandon it for what we're doing. You know? Because, you know, I find that often what my collaborators, you know, bring to the table is much better than what I thought of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were really famous for not
Sorry, can you look for your mic? Something.
Am I too?
It's scratchy, or makes unwanted noises.
Oh no! Is it still doing it?
Speak something.
Hello, is my mic still doing that thing?
Oh, okay. I can understand you, no problem. But all it's right. when you're talking, there are some noises.
Oh, I bet I'm clipping because I'm a loud guy. Yeah, I've got this big diaphragm, and I bet I'm on this little iPad here, a big iPad here, and I bet I'm just clipping the mic out. Yeah.
Okay.
So
as long as I can understand you, no problem.
Okay. Well, let me know if I get too loud again and start clipping.
No, it's not too loud. It's just too soundy.
Yeah.
Noisy. No, I interrupted your train of thoughts. Totally.
Well, what I was thinking is like collaboration. Often, you know, my collaborators are better at a lot of that stuff than I am. Sometimes I'm a little upset that I didn't get exactly what I wanted. You know, that we ended up with a different version. Maybe we should go back and do it again and the way I wanted, but usually not. But we were famous for not doing rehearsals, except for very early on, and when we were bringing in new drummers. Drummer always needs a rehearsal, but we would play improvised. You know, I'd have a bag of lyrics that I've been working on, as some songs that we've been doing, and we'd play some songs, and 3 or 4 songs in, we start improvising new material, and I was recording everything, especially early on. So I would pull those tapes out, and I'd say, "Hey, this looks pretty good. Let's make this a song." And my favorite of those I did in New Orleans when we were opening for the Mentors, was this song called "Hey Boy, Where'd You Get the Midget?" which is a line from Chinatown I watched the film like a couple of nights before, and it popped into my head while I was up on stage, and I started repeating it. And then once, they were doing a really good, Rick was doing a really good drum pattern, and you know, the guitars were all over the place, but you know, we went, and then, you know, next time we took a look at it, let's play Midget again, and it was again in front of people. You know, I'd written some verses this time, but I guess we can't do that. Hey boy, where'd you get the little person? Isn't really is. Maybe we just cut that one out of the live set if we ever play again.
Yeah, I guess there's something to improvisation. I think playing with notes, with written down melodies, is somehow anachronistic, since everything can be recorded and repeated over and over again, and and improvisation is much more interesting very often.
Yeah, I mean, I had this girlfriend who was a classically trained violinist, and she didn't like spo-its a bit, and did not understand improvisation. She wanted it written down, and then she was going to put her bones into the interpretation of the notes, which is a absolutely valid way to go. You know, so Gigi, shush. My little dog.
That's Gigi.
That's Gigi. Gigi, come here.
Gigi lives.
I didn't name Gigi, by the way.
Oh.
She was named by one of my girlfriends, who gave her to me when she couldn't live. All right, go ahead. Go.
couldn't keep it.
Yeah, because America, it's so difficult to keep a place to live, especially when you don't make a lot of money, and a lot of places don't have dogs. Especially now that our rental market's going corporate. But that's just the hellscape we live in right now. Yeah. So what do you want to know about
actually? My curiosity peaked when I recognized or realized that you're some kind of, I don't know if you have multiple personality disorder or on the other hand, you're some kind of universal genius, because I don't know, what are you in the first place? Musician, artist?
I'm trained as an architect,
Yeah.
just like a lot of artists. Yeah, that's an entry that I did on my new house. The review board smacked that one down. Try talking design to two insurance executives and a housewife. You get what you get. Yeah, I mean, I'm trained as an architect at Clemson, which is the finest architectural school in the South, and it's kind of that education's kind of a Bataan death march. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it is. And yeah, that's one of my houses. That's the Kilty house. I kind of tricked them into making it this nice. I kept giving them the review board at the place where we're doing that was very strict. I told them they had to do it the way I was doing it, or they wouldn't get approved. But they seemed to like it. But when they walked into the house, Miss Kilty was like, "Oh, I had no idea it was going to be like this. I mean, it's really nice, but I didn't know I did." They were just nodding at whatever I put in front of them. That's my living room. That's where I'm sitting right now.
Yeah, looks very comfy.
Yeah. It's a
and
little...
may I'm allowed to say that it's pretty bourgeois in comparison to your punk history.
Well, I mean, you got to make a living, man.
Yeah.
I'm a,
I like it. It's beautiful.
This is Alt House. This is the best thing I've ever done right here.
Yeah.
Except for the next thing I'm doing, which is going to eclipse this if it gets built. Sometimes they don't get built. But I just I've been working at architecture for my whole life. I mean, there's not a lot of talented young architects. That girl that designed the monument in Washington, Zahir, whatever. I think she's dead, isn't she? But anyway, she wasn't a very good architect. She had a nice concept and a good backup studio. Yeah. But and you get like Corbu, who did architecture early. Yeah. And he did architecture early because his mom was rich and commissioned his houses. Good talent, but he's more of a sculptor than an architect anyway. He didn't. And then you take things like people like Sullivan and Frank Lloyd Wright and whatever, and they took 20, 30 years to mature into their talent. Because architect, you got to know everything. You got to know how to psychology, color theory, composition in 3 dimensions. Yeah. And boy, can I ever pack a van full of equipment. Looking at a stack of boxes and put it into where it'll square up. My bandmates are just astounded that I can do that. It's like, I just know how things measure.
So you have a 3-dimensional.
Very, very strong. And it's not something that it's like perfect pitch. If you don't practice it, it goes away.
Yeah. I think America has just much more open spaces and possibilities for architecture.
Oh yeah.
Over here, it's most likely when you study architecture that you will end up driving a cab or something.
Well, that's the same thing here. We had 120 in my freshman class, 20 transfers in second year. Then after my 5-year program or 4-year program, we had 35 graduates, and we did about 15 years ago. We did a reunion. Only 7 of us ever practiced. I was one of them. You know. Well, yeah, one of the guys. I thought the best architect ever. He went to work for Barnes and Noble. He was doing their checking their architectural drawings from their other architects. I mean, I don't know. He's probably out of a job now. There's not any bookstores anymore, so especially not growing. But you know, he's probably in some kind of commercial thing. And one of them went to work for a hospital, and she's the facilities manager. And her training means she can read a set of drawings and knows what's on there, and can talk to an architect in his own language. You know, there's a lot of side jobs like that. But yeah, Europe's funny. I got a job offer in Milan to go do some architecture, and I would have taken it too, but I had to go back home for my sister's wedding, and then I got a better offer here, and blah 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 blah. I really enjoyed Italy. I went to graduate school in Genoa with the Clemson program there, and you know, I could have lived in Italy. I loved it to death.
Yeah, you did something else here.
Yeah,
Stuff,
yeah.
That's inside view.
That's the Shemin's residence. That's the one with the single dormer up front. That's a upside down house because the living room's on the 2nd floor on the view. So you live downstairs, and who wants to go upstairs for their bedroom anyway? And that's where you work out. Then when your guests come, you go eat dinner. You go upstairs into this beautiful vaulted space, and then you look over. I also did the engineering drawings on this one. That was back when you could do that with an architect's license in America. You can't really do that anymore.
Yeah. Where is this house? Where did you build it?
This is in Spring Island, South Carolina.
Okay.
Which is a little used to be a duck hunting preserve, and this family took it and developed it as about 350 lots, and they were very artistically smart about the thing. They were like, well, whatever you got 5 acres to put your house on, and you can't have it seen from the road. So we don't want any flashy stuff, you know, to see, and it has to blend in with the nature to a certain extent. It has to not step on any of the natural elements that are in your thing. Like if you have any specimen trees, you have to build around them. That's like the Kilty's house, where there's those big live oak trees. You know, I wouldn't cut them down anyway, but I couldn't have if I'd wanted to. And so it encourages sort of a higher net worth client, and one that wants. There's my Hunter S. Thompson. I brought that one to show you. Ralph Steadman.
Okay.
Hunter Thompson, a la Ralph Steadman. That's a lost wax casting of aluminum. You basically just make that's Kilty's on the right, and that's my dad's studio on the left with my Artemis. There's a famous fountain, if you want to Google it sometime, in Tivoli Gardens in Italy, and it's got Artemis there, and there's about maybe 100 titties, and each one of them is squirting water. That's when the popes really got down in their pleasure palaces. well worth a visit. You got to go to Villa Adriana. Up there, and definitely hit Tivoli Gardens as well. Well worth the thing.
Yeah, I was there, but with a group of students, and so I had other concerns that they don't make any kind of bullshit there, and it's my wife is always very envious about me driving around with my students, but I could really live without these tours. But it was nice. It was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Well, if you're taking your students, you're getting paid, so it's a good gig. if you can get it.
Yeah. But actually, I guess some people who watch this now wonder why it's everything very interesting, but why do we talk here on a comic book channel about it? And that's why. That's one of the reasons why.
Elvis Chicken.
Elvis Chicken. Yeah. May you want to talk a bit about this one here?
Okay. Well, Elvis Chicken is a stage name of my buddy Tom Bruner, and he's neuro non-typical. I guess that's what you say. Somewhere, I believe, on the autism spectrum. Not really sure. I knew him for about 6 months before he said a word to me. You know, and he was then playing a character, Tommy Mushroom, in this band IBS. And they would open for my band, Spoit, and it was like a clown or a pair of clowns, a couple of chickens, and they would do this big old stage show, and it was very surrealistic and sort of, you know, scatological and all that kind of stuff, and people would dig it. That would be from our audience. It was a nice sort of low intensity thing, and then of course Spoits would come on and the whole place would riot, you know, like it always happened. And so Tom Bruner was my buddy, and we've been friends for a long time, and it got to be where the band was too much trouble, you know, to book, you know, after like our 20th anniversary tour, which Tom was on. He came along and played Elvis Chicken on tour with us. I really wasn't doing too much more Spoits, but I started doing stand-up comedy. And I would invite him down when he wanted to come, and we'd do a double bit, which would be song and dance. He'd play the ukulele, and we'd do like some Elvis Chicken songs, we'd do some IBS songs, and we'd do some Spoit songs. And it was a sensation for a minute there. You know, nobody knew. They knew they'd book me, and my comedy is very confrontational and you know, sexually and triggering and all that kind of mess. But when Elvis Chicken shows up, it's sort of children's book day at the porn store, and we would sing and dance and we do, like, you know, cheesecake on the PP, and we do Dancing with the Changs. Yeah, there he is, and his thing. And then there's me doing Spoits at our 20th anniversary show. We were headlining Scumfest, and that's Crappy the Clown getting out of my way. He was also in IBS. Robin Danello, and he's written the story that Bruner draws for the next Elvis Chicken too. So you're going to be getting that. It's already drawn and in the books. I just have to color it. You know, when I'm finished with my story, we put that together. But yeah, we would do these silly songs, and you know, when I was doing stand-up comedy, we're getting paid pretty well, actually. You know, a couple, you know, two of us, and a couple $100 a show, and you know, we would play, and sometimes the place would just love us and just love bomb us, and then sometimes there'd be rednecks in the audience, and they'd think we were like putting one over on them. So I wanted to do something sort of documenting my my time with Elvis, you know, because I really love him. He's a beautiful human being, and you know, even he's got some retrograde ideas stuck in his brain somewhere about Chinese people, and more the old-timey depiction of Chinese people than actual malice against Chinese people. Yeah, that's, you know, and I really liked the way the comic was coming up. I tried a couple of comics before, and you know, they'll never see the light of day. I just dropped them. They weren't.
By the way, before I forget it, is this the best way where people can contact you and get your stuff?
Best way is my Instagram, kingspoit1 on Instagram. Or my email, kingspoit@icloud.com.
Okay. For the GG Allin comic, we're
both of them. I'm still looking for distribution. You know, like my ideal like fantasy scenario is some like comic store that's put out a couple of books over the years that has a diamond account that they can do a preview on, would call me up and say, "Hey, let's do a preview," and I'd cut them in for a percentage, and we do that, and then they'd take over distribution. I'm not good with money, Milan.
Yeah.
I'm not a money guy. All the things I can do, holding on to $1 is not something that.
Yeah, I have to say, this thing here we will talk about in a minute. You printed this in 1,000 copies. That's bold. Because it's not because it's mad, just the opposite. I really like it, but it's very niche.
Yeah,
I would say.
Well, 1,000 copies is the first edition. I mean, it's been selling really well, actually. One of the producers of the Daily Show bought a copy. Scolvano, so the Bad Seeds, got a copy. Sammy Duvet from Acid Bath got a copy. A lot of the GG collectors, they all have to have their copies, and they wanted low numbers too. That you see how to number them inside there. They all wanted as low a number as I could get. I said, "Man, you can only get them as low as they are today. I'm not gonna double up my numbers." But the idea I had was we'd do a first edition of 1,000, and then when it's time to do a second edition, I'd add some more GG stories, because I've got.
Yeah, I live in a country where it's everything a bit smaller than over, because here a book is successful when you sell 200 copies, 400. Yeah, there's a book that I have with comics by Möbius, little, almost unknown cartoonist, 400 copies. Yeah, so 1,000 copies is bold, but obviously you have all the English audience and.
Well, yeah, and also I'd like to. If somebody in Germany wanted to print 50 copies and sell it in Germany, I'd send them the PDFs. Say send me a check for $100. $1, $2 a book, whatever. I'm not concerned about the money I make on this book. It'll never pay me back for the time I put into it. It took me 2 years and a half to do the whole book, including my own story, Case of the Disappearing Microphone, and and that case was hard to solve. Where is that microphone? No spoilers here. Although my niece
the people have to buy the comic.
Yeah, you got to buy it to find out. My niece, she knew exactly where the microphone was hidden before I even told her what the story was about. Luckily, she's a grown woman now and can talk to me about things.
Before we come to the Elvis, to GG Allin, let me show my favorite part of the book. Because this one here is a flip comic, and your nephew, how old is he now?
Now he's in college. He's like 22. He's studying veterinary stuff.
Okay.
And when they were kids, well, they would come over to my house. They'd always want to come play at my house, and we would set up the easels and we'd do paintings.
Yeah.
And at some point, we decided we were going to do a comic book, because Parker had an idea to do a comic book. And so I got a big thing of watercolor paper, and we just started. I showed, well, first you draw it with the pencil where you want it, and then you come in, and I let them do it. Let them do whatever. There's only one. There's the censorship right there. When it says fork right there, my nephew wrote "fork you," and his mom made me censor the page before it got printed. Maybe we'll go get an original on that. But I thought it was like really great. Now he's doing some really great art now. He's doing a lot of pop culture stuff. I've got a bunch of his paintings. Let's see if one of them around here somewhere. But he does a lot of pop culture, and I said, no, don't do the pop culture. Do those great things you do when you do like a portrait of one of the people that works with you. And he just does. I mean, he grew up to be like an insanely talented artist, and I just need to get him focused on something that'll get him a little renowned, and anything I can do. I'm begging him for pictures too, for pages for Elvis Chicken too. I haven't gotten any yet, but I told him I can't do any of the pop culture stuff. We're not doing anybody else's characters. But this is just. Go ahead. This
is great. I mean, I'm a teacher in art. It's one of my subjects that I teach, and more some sort of secondary subject, if you understand what I mean. But it's always a problem when some student makes stuff like this here, and I think it's great, and I want to give it the best grade ever. All the other students come, hey, this is such a chaos. This is not beautiful. And then I have, how can I argue? I mean, I can say
I've got that one. I've got that one.
It's Picasso or something, or Cobra, or Don van Vliet, Captain Beefheart. By the way, do you know his paintings? Of course.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, because that's way of I guess he paints like you do music, maybe. Yes.
I wish I could
from
paint
the belly.
Well I wish I could paint as well as he did. This is one of my paintings back here, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my old structural teacher had a thing he would do to freshmen. He would put up this tape dispenser. It'd be like one of these 1950s things, all clunky and big, and said, "Is this beautiful?" And everybody would go, "No." And then he put up one which would be like a 60s modern in all bright colors. "Is this tape dispenser beautiful?" And everybody go, "Yes." And then he'd go, "Okay, 500 words on why this one is not beautiful and why this one is." And it would shut people up about the aesthetics for a while.
Yeah. However, that's great. But now we have to come to your 2.5 years, you said,
2.5 years. Yeah, I was doing about 2 pages a week.
Okay.
And so the cover and can you name all the dead rock stars?
No. Good question. Kurt Cobain.
Right, because the missing face.
Captain Beefheart.
Of course, that's a good one.
And Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix, of course.
In the middle, and one of the Ramones should no.
Dee Dee. Hey,
Dee Dee, okay. Oh, and
that's the one. The next one's the one that stops there, even though he's got his name written on his chest in blood.
Yeah,
that's from a famous photograph of him, Darby Crash, from the Germans.
Okay, and the one in the corner,
bottom right,
bottom
Sid.
corner.
That's Sid Vicious.
Okay, yeah.
Couldn't do it without Sid, Couldn't
okay,
do rock stars without Sid.
There you got me.
But nobody has done them all yet, and everybody gets skipped up. Now I want to say about like Michael Board writing this thing. Michael Board is one hell of a talent, and he was so generous with his time and his writing, and just this book wouldn't be the same book, wouldn't be a book even if it wasn't for him. I would have done my story on interviewing GG, and that would have been it. I would have moved on to something else.
Maybe we should talk a bit about GG Allin before we go into your comic, because maybe it's not so common knowledge what he was.
Well, Well, GG Allin's the #1 king of rock and roll of all time.
Yeah, okay.
heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
He is as Michael would say, has totally no super ego at all. Nothing tamping down the way he was and the way he wanted to be. He was bad and wrong because that's the way he wanted to be. And he was good and generous and loving because that's the way he wanted to be. Certainly a damaged person, but I guess making it work for himself. I was always a big fan of GG's from the first time I heard him. And, a lot of what my band came to be was based on GG Allin, but not based on what he did. I wasn't throwing poo on anybody. Not that I wouldn't. If I felt like it, I just didn't feel like it. It's like that. It's like that. I did what I got inside myself and figured out what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to throw a mass destruction and be dangerous and all that. And GG, he wanted to just be the public animal and let all of that out and fight with his audience and just be whatever he wanted in his moment. And of course, you get in the book where sometimes what that was 2 bags of dope and just passing out during the show. A lot of really famous people worked with him. Two of the MC5 guys worked with him. Kramer from Bongwater worked with him. Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr. played with him. Thurston Moore was supposed to have been on that first show, and nobody can tell me why he wasn't, or why he was on the flyer and not at the show.
Maybe he was afraid.
I don't know. It could have been anything. I don't think it was afraid because.
No, I don't believe you.
At that point he was so GG was so new. The bald GG covered in feces and blood hadn't quite made it out yet. He was just this really edgy, really intense performer, and everybody could tell he was a star. But like I said, I talked to everybody involved. I talked to Stephen Bluth, who booked the show. I wrote American Hardcore, which if you haven't read, it's great. History of punk rock music. Nobody could tell me, and of course I couldn't get through to Thurston. He's too famous to get stray emails and answer them. But GG was the guy, and especially when in the formative days when my stuff was coming together, he was it. I had a booking for GG Allin in Savannah that I'd made through Merle, which was 6 months after his death. And of course, we made it well in advance, maybe 3 months, but we made it well in advance. And then we heard he was dead, and we happened to be in New York that week playing, and everybody had turned the little gas station flyers. They were little tiny things, and turned them into shrines. They'd put condoms on them and little plastic jewels and plastic flowers and baby dolls. It was one of the things I wish I'd had a camera and taken a picture of all of them, but I didn't take a picture of any of them. And the one that I did in the book is right from memory, as much as I could remember. 20 years later, or 20 plus years later.
By the way, here we see Thurston in the middle.
Yeah.
And
Gerald Kosloy. Yeah.
I think he musically he tried sometimes in his more freak outs and improvisational stuff and so on, something similar. On the other hand, it's much more controlled, obviously, and cooler and yeah, totally different mindset than with GG Allin, of course.
And there's the guy, David Peel, who I had not heard about until I did this record and did this book, and he's a fascinating character all on his own. Marijuana activist, proto-punk rocker, sort of out of the hippie days into the punk rock days, and street performer in New York. Never really caught a break, but his work is thoroughly fascinating. And of course, he worked with GG, which which was great. So at some point, it'd be nice if somebody would do like a life of Peel, but I don't know if anybody ever will. I don't know. The people that know him are even older than the people that know GG, and the GG people are dying or dead. Going fast.
Yeah, that's something quite sad. What you wrote in the introduction, that you couldn't get hold of many people just because they're dead right now.
Yeah. It's like Mike Denied, who's a friend of mine, toured with him when he was taking GG's place, singing with the Murder Junkies. He died about a year before COVID of being a junkie and not taking care of himself all these years. And I would have liked to have his stories on GG because he was there at the gas station show. I might have done a drawing of him in there. I did a drawing of somebody that looks like him, but I'm not sure it was him because I couldn't see it well enough on the video reference that I was using, whether it was actually him, but it looked like him. It could have been him. Bobby Ebbs, I started, oh man, I should call him up. And I go through he died 10 years ago. Just one after another. And then the people, I'm not going to say who, but some of the people I called up had health problems now, certainly aren't going to be around forever. Yeah. There's Michael Board's famous soliloquy in front of the GG Allin show. That's on Hated in the Nation tape, so you can actually listen to that if you want to. It's sort of I don't know, out of time, as it were, since he did it at an earlier show, not this particular show that I'm talking about. But there's a couple of things like that I did where I arranged things in time to make a better story. Not so many in the GG thing, but more in like Case of the Disappearing Microphone. There's a couple of things out of time there.
I think, it makes sense because you want to have the people read the stuff. And
you
when you're too much focused on the details, then you lose maybe the flow.
Because that's the greatest intro to GG Allin ever that Michael Board did. Luckily, there's a copy of it, and it's out on Hated in the Nation. And if I'm going to do an intro GG, it's got to be that intro, even though And there isn't a video of GG's show. So what exactly happened? You'll never get any specificity on that. So a lot of that is my imagination. I had heard that he went out of his way to throw shit on people that had the nicest clothes. and Tim Yarmouth did an interview, which I read. I didn't actually get with Tim for an interview for my book, but I read an interview that he did that he was the guy that gave GG the X-Lax before that thing and paid him $10 to X-Lax it.
we have it. I mean, culture is such a thin veneer. Although, and we have just right now in the newspapers, in the feuilleton, in high culture, some kind of scandal over here. There's a director for a dance group, ballet at the theater. It's high art, and he has had a critician, or he has a critician from the newspaper whose critiques doesn't suit him too well. So what did he do? He grabbed some poo of his dog.
I heard that.
You heard that?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that article. Yeah. Yeah,
it made it to the US.
Poo, it's going to be forwarded to me.
Oh, it was just a reflex. That's so cheap.
I'm down with him. I mean, why stop at poo? I mean, Sid Vicious broke his bass over the head of a music critic that came to one of his shows. They'd given him giving Sex Pistols a bad review. Just broke the guy's head. I'm all for back.
Yeah. You sort of expect this from Sid Vicious, but if it's some kind of official, half official statement of German culture, then something different. But yeah.
Well, what would you expect him to throw? You know.
Yeah.
Of course, Germany's known for wonderful madmen. I've got my. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Werner Herzog.
Ihr seid alles Idioten! Was wollt ihr? Mit diesen unfähigen Menschen kann ich doch nicht arbeiten! Das geht nicht! Ich Kinski, der große
Klaus. Yeah.
Now, have you seen Klaus Kinski's performances back in the 60s when he would just basically get up and yell at people in German? I would love to.
You have to. Yeah. It's still on YouTube.
I've seen it. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. The fun thing is that these were just usual broadcasts from public TV, and where politicians and important people sit on a sofa and discuss philosophy and whatever topics you come to your mind. And then good old Klaus comes into the room like a tiger and explodes somewhere in the middle. The thing is, you couldn't tell will he explode or will he just be the kind, nice, yeah, then we did this movie and it was all right, and Werner Herzog and we did a good job, and then some question tickles him the wrong way and he was some kind of he's great. He has some kind of there are of course of parodies, people who mimic that because it's not too difficult. Yeah, but he was in a way a bit. It was not all played. He was
no. You get
pretty disturbed person. Yeah.
It was one of those things. Oh yeah, that famous picture right there, Michael Board and GG, the drugs are us, and the Village Voice article. This was where GG went mainstream. This is when everybody heard of him, because everybody in the world, or this country rather, reads the Village Voice. This is before the internets and all that kind of stuff. I guess it wasn't before the internet because it was like 90 or 80 something. So I guess there was a little bit of internet, but it was basically in the land of physical media. There was a back and forth in the Voice about this. And unfortunately, I couldn't find copies of it. I couldn't find the Village Voice those years online to look through. I couldn't find clips of it or anything. So maybe somebody will put that together, and we'll include that in the next edition. All the back and forths. Peeing on his label board. Gerald Kozloy is a great guy, first of all. Homestead Records, and then he went to did his own thing in Matador Records, and he's another reason why we have GG. I mean, I guess we have him without Gerald, but Gerald's the guy that put him in a proper studio, got him proper distribution. My first GG Allin LP was the Homestead LP, Freaks, Bleep, and Junkies. You know, I'm gonna get this pulled off YouTube for accurately saying what's going on. But there was a bunch of stories running around about how GG peed on his label manager, and the way Michael had it going was that Gerald was late to the signing party, and when he got in, GG just picked up, dropped his pants, and peed on him, but of course missed, you know, because Gerald was too quick. The other story that I got was from Gerald, and he said that they were all in the of course it's in the book. They were all in the dugout, and the guys from Lech Patrol were sort of egging GG on. And he went to go to the bathroom and had one of them like sort of helping him walk. Cause I guess he'd been drinking or something. And Gerald was like, "Oh, so you need to help him? You need his help to take a pee?" And when GG came back, he peed on him. And that's one of the Easter eggs is he peed on some old men. And if you look at the drawings, they're two like famous actors of television that I put in there, and maybe somebody could figure out which ones. I'm not going to give those Easter eggs up.
Okay. How do you drew all these pages? With the computer, obviously?
No, well, yeah. Well, I do the layouts on computer. If I have any photo reference, I put that down. Then I print it out on 24 by 36 bond paper, which is huge, you know. And then I look at my reference on big screen TV. I have a board in front of me, and I use the ink brush, and I do it all in brush. Of course, that one, the Village Voice, is a collage. I didn't bother to ink the type set there. No, I'm not that crazy. So then I do the whole thing in ink and brush. And then once I have the ink and brush, I scan it into the computer, and then I clean it up and color it. And if I've made any mistakes in the ink, and like I've missed a face or something, I'll do an 11 by 17, and I'll redo the face, and I'll scan that, and I'll put it together in GIMP. You know, so you know there's not really a physical copy of that, but I have, you know, I've got acid proof boxes 24 by 36, and all my pages are in there. So if anybody wants one, you know, I do have the inks. But I like working in the ink anyway. I don't like pencil at all. Yeah, I used to draw. Well, I learned how to draw copying Kirby's X-Men, the first one. And Barry Windsor Smith's Conan. And what I would do is I had a copy of Cartooning the Marvel Way or whatever, you know, when I was a little kid, and I would do the drawing in the pencil, and I would do the drawing. I was copying the thing. I didn't know you're supposed to do it bigger. Like, nobody knows that when they're a kid. And then I would come in and I would do the inks. And then I found out that my pencils were a lot better than my inks. And I was like, what did I lose? And it was like, because with the pencil, I was looking at the original and going, and the inks, I was going over these pencils, which was another, and they would stiffen up and all this. So I said, why don't I just quit the pencil? So I started inking right off. Yeah. So I would copy the Barry Windsor Smiths, and without doing a pencil thing, I would just start on the inks. And of course, you'd miss the proportions and all when you're starting. Yeah. I got to where I can do it. You know, I can like draw your picture or whatever, write on a piece of paper with no pencil and get a resemblance, you know.
Mm.
And I carry my sketchbook everywhere, but I got to hate doing preliminaries, doing pencils.
Mm.
But I find for a comic book, there's too many parameters. You gotta compose it. So I do my shaded and shadowed to get all the things where they need to be on the page.
Mm.
But then I go back to drawing in ink.
You did a layout or how it's called.
Yeah.
You mapped out the whole story.
Right.
So that yeah.
No, not the whole story. No, I do 2 pages at a time.
Yeah, okay, but yeah.
If I had to map the whole thing out, I'd never do it. I would get bored. I'm not a planner, man.
Oh.
I keep going. I keep going to the thing, you know, and a certain part of it. I mean, if you weren't looking at my Facebook stuff, but certain parts of it, I would think, oh, that chapter ought to be 3 chapters back. Well, I just go ahead and do the chapter, and I'd switch it later on when we're putting the book together. So I didn't quite do it in order because I found some stuff that should go earlier, and then I put it earlier. And also, I had too much TV on there, too many of GG's TV appearances, and I had them all together because they, you know, 2 of them occurred together. And when one of them was a little bit forward, the Geraldo Rivera was a little bit forward. You know, had Todd Phillips, you know, the guy that did the Joker and did the GG Allin movie too. He was on that as well and had some early pictures of the movie. And when you put all the TV stuff together, it's too same. So I had to get some stories to break that up so it wouldn't just bore the person that was reading it. Yeah. I
mean, I don't know really about the life of GG Allin, but I got the feeling that you got it pretty historically accurate.
As accurate
in a way.
as I can make it.
Yeah, and it's a report of things for, especially I think for the people who are involved more or less with your crowd. It must be very splendid.
There's lots of stuff that isn't in there too. I mean, there's tons of stories about GG that I did not get onto this book. I sort of hand waved the whole like GG Allin and the Murder Junkies era of it. Really, you know, what I was doing was Michael Board's story with GG Allin. And so the parts that he was in are the parts that get a lot of coverage. You know, the parts that he wrote about, you know, there's 3 Maximum Rock and Roll articles that were in there that I made illustrations for. And then 1 blog post about him visiting GG's grave, which is the first thing I read that he had written about GG when we started to do it. This is the first thing I found and read. And right from that, it just grabbed my heart. You know, and I was like, oh man, if the rest of this is as good as this is going to be great. And so I downloaded copies of all that and got it all into thing. But you know, the one thing is like Michael, you know, and he'll tell you he doesn't remember things so well anymore. You know, from 20, 30 years ago. He's 10, 15 years older than me. He was a yippie, you know, back in the 60s. He was one of the early punk rock guys. And yeah, there he is. There's us. Yeah, out at drinks night in New York. Yeah. I love Michael to death, man. He is the best. He is the best. But you know, it's like I rather would interview the people that were around Michael's stories, and I would get their story about Michael's story. You know, and especially, you know, Gerald Cosloy was really great. Gave me a really nice interview. And Mike Edison was really nice this time. The guitar player, you know, for the Holy Men, GG Allin, the Holy Men that made that first record, had a lot of very very piercing. He's the one that wouldn't tell me about the peace story. He was like, fuck that. We were all kids. It was shitty. Gerald's a great guy. What are you talking about?
What's that actually with the peeing and the magic of the urine?
It's just basically that Gigi's saying that he's his own person, and he'll disrespect anybody he damn well wants to. They're all, even the guy that's doing him this huge favor by publishing his stuff. And not that Homestead didn't make a ton of money off of it. They made a big stink about not liking Gigi on their record label, but they put out a second record, and Gerald wasn't there to do that second record. He had left by that time, and so somebody in Homestead was like, "Here's a check, Gigi. Give us another damn record." And I got the story of him making that record over, with Charlie Infection, who gave me another great interview and a bunch of pictures to use for reference. And I wanted to get everybody's happy face on this. Everybody that was there. I want to get their smiling faces on the book, and get it accurate.
Yeah. Tons of people in this. I only put the very first pages into the PDF to show it now in the stream here. But how many pages?
128 plus the covers.
So much stuff, magazine sized. You can get it from Kingspoit.
Yes. Kingspoit on Instagram. DM me. It's going to be on Amazon soon, but Amazon takes $7 more, so I got to make it pricier to get Satan's cut on there.
Bastards.
So if you can call me up before I've done that, but I'm not gonna I've got architecture work to do, and let me tell you, the least paid architecture work pays better than the best paid cartooning work. So it's gotta fall into a hole there, so that I can do the Amazon. So is there anything else you want to talk to me about?
Yeah, I'm very curious about your next architectural project, I have to say.
Oh, well, it's a house in Hilton Head Island. It's on Broad Creek, and basically the house that's there now that they're living in has a history. It was a smuggler's house, and they were smuggling marijuana. And they would take it out in the shrimp boats up and down the inland waterway, and then speedboats would come out and grab the square grouper off the fishing boats and bring them in, and they would put them in the garage of this house that was owned by this gentleman. And of course, like all good things, has to come to an end. Somebody ratted, and actually one of my classmates' father went to jail for laundering their money, and the lawyer for the people that were going to jail got arrested because he was found on the property of this house that I'm renovating right now, digging up his fee, which was in a igloo cooler buried in the yard.
Okay.
Somebody had told him where to go dig his fee up. And the police were, of course, watching the house, stellar piece of police work. And they popped him. But that's the whole story. And it's basically going to be like a 2-story house. It's going to look out over the water. It's natural woods and high ceilings and nautically fish themed. I'd take some of the fish detailing off of my my fish entry, which is unfortunate because if I'd gotten it built the way I designed it, they'd published me for it. But now it's gonna be good, but it's not gonna be great. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
But it sounds still like a wet dream for an architect.
Oh yeah. One of the
setting, the place, and location, and
it's so
everything.
rare to get a client with money and taste. Usually you get one or the other. It's generally money. And if you get one with both, then you're in high cotton.
Yeah, cool. What's with the music? Do you have music projects?
Man, I got
coming
nothing
up?
going on. Nothing going on with the music right now. My guitar player Chuck Metaxas, also the producer of the Spo-It's records, wants me up in New York and wants me to do another record, and I could do that. When I did the 20th anniversary show, that was like 2010. It just about killed me. You get that adrenaline thing going, and I just went beyond what my body can do today, and I had to be in bed for days after that.
Okay.
I don't even know what 60-year-old me, 62-year-old me is going to do if I get up on a Spo-It stage again. I'd do it, if there was a stage to get on. I mean, I know the Milestone would have us again, and there's places in New York that would book us. We're banned everywhere in town. They all know about us. It used to be, because the places that would book us would be the places where the owners were the craziest. So also the places that wouldn't last as long because the owners were crazy. We had some, crazy coke dealing owners at a club I won't mention because I've just said coke dealers, and they booked Spo-It's for years. We were at a strip club called the wave or the Lamppost. We booked that for years. That was also a cover for drug dealing, and that's why we stopped booking there. They said we were drawing too much attention. So they threw us out. The money you're making us isn't just go away. The straight places in town, like there was a place called the Velvet Elvis. They booked us and then they canceled us because the musicians in town that didn't like us said, "Well, you're going to book them, then we're not going to play." And they do things and put their sacred reproductive parts out in public. Blah 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 blah. And they're just like jealous. I mean, we were playing all over the country, and they were hardly playing in Savannah. Whatever. And also, I could generally promote in town. I could generally find some place for us to play.
Do you miss it?
I do miss it. It's the funnest thing in the world. I mean, but it's just about as fun as playing with Elvis Chicken. So I might do that again. That's a lot easier. A comic show, 15-minute set, and I don't get hurt. I don't heal so well anymore. I mean, one time I was playing at this place called the Tunnel in Savannah, and one of the TVs I was whacking with a chain exploded. I picked a 3-inch piece of glass splinter out of my thigh. I didn't even know I had it until I put my hand across it, and my hand came up cut for the little piece of thing that was like sticking up out of my. I kept pulling it, and it just kept pulling. Why, gosh, that's a lot of glass in my thigh. And but it's just like I get hurt every so often. People get hurt. We weren't so big on safety. That's part of the thing. Is
I got the impression with the short.
Too much safety in the world. We need some danger. Yeah, that's what I like about when I went and visited Russia. It looked like everybody was just balls out everywhere. 2005. Putin had just gotten in, and it was just off the fucking rails. I loved it. I managed to get through 2 weeks without being robbed, and went out to Siberia, which was fun. In August, out to Sumy. No, not Sumy, but Omsk. Went out to Omsk, and then there's a beautiful French revival town square there, town center. And that's what I went to see, and also because it's on the the movie with Slim Pickens, you know, where they're dropping the nuclear bomb on Omsk. That's their primary target. Also, it was a closed city for many years. You couldn't go, you know, and I knew it had like this architectural thing. I show up and I find out there's very little taxi service there. Very little anything. So I'm walking anyway. Yeah. I could just go my travel
maybe you can explain in briefly what is wrong with Russia right now, but I think nobody can.
Well, it's run by criminals. I mean, it's the United States' fault. When we came in, what we wanted to do was create like an oligarch class like we have in America, and we take all of the state factories out of the government hands and basically give them to a group of criminals, you know, oligarchs. Because then we could deal with all those oligarchs, and if the political switched back, the politicians would have themselves taken over by the oligarchs. Well, the problem is that Putin got to be one of those oligarchs by covering our guy that was there, and then he basically killed everybody, you know, ran him out of the country that had a contrary that was contrary to him, you know, instead of like having a competition with them, he basically took them all out. You know, put them in jail, got them out of the country, whatever. And so now, you know, we're dealing with a dictatorship. Yeah, and it's a criminal dictatorship.
I still have really my problems. You may know that Putin. To have a politician that can speak English well is not so seldom, but to have a Russian politician who can speak German very well, that's pretty seldom.
He was stationed in Germany when he was
in Dresden. In Dresden, yes. And he was, when I was young, decades ago, he was in some German TV show, and he made a good impression, and you thought it was still, you had this euphoria of the Berlin Wall falling down and everything's peasy easy and so on. And Putin, of course you knew he was part of the Secret Service and so on, and all his connections. Yeah, but actually, that's too much for this little interview, I think, to discuss this. But it's obviously pretty crazy because we live in Flensburg here in northern Germany, and in this little town, they building now these tanks that they will send over there. So
it's a real sad thing, because I mean we could have done it a different way, and the United States thought they were going for the kill. And I guess they almost did, but they didn't quite. Yeah. I wish that we would behave better. You know, we're not going to, but I wish we would. You know, the last president that wanted the United States to behave better got a bullet in his head for some reason. We don't know exactly why. You know, Allen Dulles had something to do with it. We don't know why. You know, but so we're just not gonna behave any better than we do. Not anytime soon. So I'm thinking about, like, because I'm a Bernie guy, right? I support Bernie Sanders, and my thing is, well, what if we won? What if we won that election? You know, would they kill us?
Interesting.
Would they murder us instead of getting universal health care? Would the farmer guys come out and just start shooting people? Maybe. It's happened before. Hasn't happened in America yet, but, you know, Eden is still young. So, comic books, man. You know?
Comic books. Yeah, I have one last question about comics. Do you read comics?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yourself?
Absolutely. I read Marvel till I was 16, and I had this discussion with Gerald. I said that the Marvel was so bad in 1977 that one of Spider-Man's victims, or villains rather, his his power was pointy shoes. Like, no, I'm not doing the pointy shoes guy. And I just dropped all the mainstream comics up there. But then I was reading Ed the Happy Clown. I was reading, you know, Flaming Carrot was absolutely my favorite. And then, you know, later on Watchmen and all this sort of stuff. Never got back to the mainstream, but I was always reading a little bit of comics. And when I was a kid, I was drawing a lot of comics. I have a lot of that in there. I've still got my old spinner rack collection. It's not going anywhere. You know, and you know, and right now I read this really great thing. It's called Strange Creatures, and it's about the guys that did the a guy that did the special effects on The Thing, Carpenter's The Thing. I'm not sure if it's historical or if it's historical / invented, because I don't know enough about the real story to tell you that. But I tell you that the art style is great, and the writing is great, you know. And usually in a comic book, you get one or the other. You either get great art or good story, you know. It's rare you get both.
Is it by Pauline Cartwright?
No,
No.
Strange.
Yeah, strange. They have to be a lot of different. I'm just Google image searching right now.
Tim, oh God, I'm forgetting his name. I'll send you a link afterwards. You can.
Okay. Yeah.
I ought to buy one of his comics and send it to you.
Tim Seeley?
Yeah. No. Tim Mick.
Yeah. Send me a link.
All right.
Or write a comment below the video. I think I put this video as it is right now, just as a panellogy on Earl Grey, and I don't have any intention to edit anything out.
Well, I kept my poo-poos to a minimum so it wouldn't.
Nobody peed on anybody's shoes or flinged some kind of poo. So I guess it was all well behaved, and YouTube's algorithm can be proud of us.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, let's end this right here and say goodbye to our viewers. And I stop this broadcast. Auf Wiedersehen, genau. Okay.